Have you ever gone to the gym consistently, done all the work that you're supposed to do, doing that for a few months, kept checking the scales and nothing's changed on them? What if I told you that your understanding of how to burn fat and lose that weight is probably wrong? Maybe it's a misconception. So in this video, what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to explain to you how the body functions and why going to the gym is separate from you wanting to lose weight. And that sounds crazy, but watch and maybe understand what I'm trying to get to.
Go to concerts with your great-grandchildren. That's amazing.
Fear itself is a tremendously powerful lever. And when I say a lever, I mean a chemical lever.
It's not that they don't get heart attacks. They just don't get them when they're 65.
That a regular gratitude practice can enhance many aspects of our physical and mental health.
I mean, there is simply no better elixir for metabolic health than being active.
So let me try to explain to you why I separate those two and try to explain to people that although they do overlap on certain areas, the reality is you're going to the gym for one reason and you're dieting or eating properly for a very different reason. And most people misunderstand or don't understand the two concepts and how they complement each other. A lot of people don't understand how the body functions, and that concept of how to lose weight becomes very difficult to understand. So let's start with the gym. So most people go to the gym, they either lift weights or they're doing some type of cardio or they do both of them. We need to understand why we're doing each one. So let's start with the strength training or the weight training part of it. We're lifting weights for the purpose of building muscle. The reason why we want to build more muscle is that we want to protect our joints in the long run and ensure that there's no diseases that might come about like osteoporosis, sarcopenia, or anything along those lines. The other part is that we have joint stability. So we've gotten that out of the way. Now the other part of it is when we do the cardio part of it, or when we're looking at strengthening the heart muscle, the respiratory system, that we want to become more efficient in that. So the more we train that system, we understand that it's going to get better and stronger in that capacity. And the reason we do that is to avoid heart diseases and any other respiratory problems that we have, and to make the body more efficient in the long run. Okay, so now we've moved those elements of why we go to the gym. The other part is, and this is what we need to understand, is why do we eat properly? So if you're overweight, if you're obese, for example, and you eat less calories than what you need, over time you will start to lose the fat. Now if you eat more than what your body needs, then you'll start to gain fat over the long term. It doesn't happen in a couple of meals. It happens over months and months and years. And that's why most people in their 20s don't feel this. And as they get older into their 30s and 40s, it just creeps up on them. And in my previous videos, I've showed how that usually happens. Although somebody's weight has stayed the same, their body composition has changed dramatically from losing muscle to gaining the fat. Let's take a couple of steps back here and let's try to understand a few things. The calories that you take in per day, where do they go? And I'm going to show you later on in this video the breakdown or the percentages and explain to you why exercise is probably the smaller part of that. But the other part of it is when we look at our in-body tests and we understand something called a BMR, which is your basal metabolic rate, that is based on predominantly how much muscle mass you have on your body. Okay? So the more muscle mass you have, the more calories you need to burn at rest, because muscle needs more calories. So having said that, when I want to break this down, there's a few things that I need to understand. The highest percentage of our calories that we need in the day is something called our BMR, basal metabolic rate. And what does that encompass? Basically, if you stay lying down in a bed all day and you don't do anything, these are the amount of calories your body needs to breathe, your brain function, your heartbeat, and any other involuntary movement of the body. That's where the BMR comes in. So that accounts for about 70% of your total calories burnt per day. That is the majority of your calories. Now, there's a few concepts we need to understand beyond that and where the calories go, and it's based on your activity level. Now, the first one is something called NEAT, or an NEAT, which is your non-exercise activity thermogenesis. It sounds fancy, but I'm going to try to explain it in a simpler way. So what is NEAT? How active you are during the day. So if anybody's trying to calculate their calories, the first question that's asked, how active are you during the day? That question is important because when we say activity, it doesn't mean how long have you been working out. So your NEAT basically is your non-exercise activity thermogenesis, and that's basically how active you are. That means when you go to work or when you go somewhere, how far do you park away? How far do you walk to where you're going? Do you take the stairs or the elevator? Do you walk around on your phone when you're talking? Do you fidget a lot? All of these are part of your NEAT, okay? And that accounts for about 15% of your daily expenditure of calories. Now, that's why you see people that are a bit more hyper, they're fidgety, they're getting up, sitting down a lot. These people usually burn more calories than most people because they are active. Other people that are sitting for 8 hours at their desk not moving, they're obviously going to burn less calories. So that's about 15%. So we've gone from 70% your BMR, now we're doing your 15% of your NEAT or your non-exercise activity thermogenesis. Above that, you have about 10% that's used for your TEF, which stands for your thermic effects of food, which basically means how much energy your body needs to digest food. And that's why we always talk about having more protein, because it takes a bit more energy to digest. So that accounts for your 70% your BMR. Now we have 15% your NEAT or your non-exercise activity thermogenesis. Then you have about 10% of that, which is your TEF, which is your thermic effects of food, which is your digestion. So what does that leave us with? That leaves us with the last piece of where your calories go to, and that's something called EAT. EAT stands for your exercise activity thermogenesis. That's something that you do intentionally to work out or to burn calories. That means going to the gym, for example, going for a run. That is your exercise activity thermogenesis, okay? And that accounts for about 5%. So we've seen the total amount of calories that are being burnt. The last part of that is about 5% being burnt on exercise. And obviously that is a general number, but it gives us an indication of that the smallest amount that's being burnt is because of the gym. So that's why I want to separate between going to the gym, where we're building muscle, getting stronger, doing joint stability stuff that'll help us in the longer run, and our cardio or respiratory system that we're trying to improve that and becoming more efficient. The eating part of it is controlling how many calories we're taking in is what's going to give us the biggest effect on our fat composition within the body. I've said that it's about 5%, but that's probably in a better case scenario, and that's assuming you do some type of activity every single day. Now assume that it doesn't, you do, let's say 3 times a week, that number goes down even further. Now the other part of it is, so we can understand that the calories that we're trying to burn here are not going to be consistent. So let's say you get injured, you stop working out. So that 5% goes down to 0 now. Traveling, or you get sick, all of those elements decrease the consistency of it, so we can't rely on that. And people that are burning 1,000 calories in the gym, for example, once they've stopped doing that, but they're eating the same amount of food, what starts to happen? That extra food that they're having, that they're burning in the gym, let's say, that food that they're using is going to become stored, all right? And this is why we need to differentiate why we go to the gym and why we eat properly. They do overlap in terms of health and wellness and the bigger picture of things, but it's important that we differentiate between these two elements and understand where our calories are going. The other part that is critical to understand when we look at this model or understand the structure is that, assuming that you have a bad day when you go and eat something, for example, but a lot of people build this really bad relationship with food, and what it creates is that I have a bad day, or my cheat day is on a Friday, and then the Saturday following that, I have this bad relationship with food where I either starve myself or I sit there for 3 or 4 hours at the gym trying to burn the calories that I gained the day before. And it doesn't work like that. And I've shown you why. Because we don't look at it per day when we're looking at it at the bigger picture of things. And that number that you're burning in the gym, which isn't sustainable, but let's assume that you burn a lot of calories, it becomes such a small amount of the total calories that you burn that it's not worth the extra pressure and wear and tear that you put into your body just because you want to burn those calories that you think you've gained because of the night before. So it creates this very unhealthy relationship with food where you punish yourself when you eat bad, and it should never be like that. My final word on this: the gym is not your weight loss sanctuary, but you need to understand that it's a fortress for building strength and nurturing cardiovascular health. The next time you lift those weights or sprint on the treadmill, know that you're doing wonders for your muscles and your heart and your cardiovascular system, and you're not there to punish yourself because of a bad day that you've had the night before. Hope you enjoyed that video, and again, if you find people that would benefit from this, please forward it to them.